years ago, we did these Last of Us photos that got quite a bit of shares and attention, and a lot of people thought they were screenshots from the sequel. For those who never experienced it, The Last of Us is known as one of the best experiences in gaming today. The story and acting are better than most Hollywood movies.
Not her, you know.
What?
Maria told me about Sarah.
Ellie?
And
You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel, but I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
And that's because instead of doing the voiceover work in a studio, they actually acted out the entire thing.
What loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you.
And within the first 15 minutes, even grown men are known to cry. It's that good. We loved the game so much that we did this cosplay tribute, featuring Clara Cosmia as Ellie and TheLastSon Cosplay as Joel. As you may know, the sequel kept getting delayed year after year, but it's finally here. So I figure, why not? Let's release these photos now and revisit this memorable shoot. I'll go over some of the editing that was done, behind the scenes, and how our tribute compares with The Last of Us 2. The first hurdle we had to get over was how Clara Cosmia, who normally looks like this, will pull off a teen who kind of looks like Ellen Page. I remember when she first told me she wanted to do it, I almost laughed, and very much doubted her. But knowing her attention to detail and her cosplaying ability, I trusted her. The new problem was, she's not short enough to pull off someone who's essentially a child. So in comes Joel. Her choice of Joel was perfect because not only was he growing a beard during that time, but he was so tall that he made her look tiny. I think he was like 6'5" or 6'7" or something like that. So next to her, she actually did look like a child. Next came the setting. We thought the forest would be an easy thing to do because there were some forest scenes in the game, but in the end we felt that would be a cop-out. So luckily there was this abandoned factory nearby, which was absolutely perfect. We shot there for a few hours and the rest is history. So let's jump in and analyze all these shots. I wanted at least one photo to recreate actual game footage. The main thing I did with this one was sharpen the details of the backpack with some harsh dodging and burning, and adding a bit of sharpening too. This was another photo of Ellie and Joel that we wanted to copy. Something very interesting happened. Now because of the depth of field, Ellie was really in focus, but Joel was not. He was blurry in the background. So what I ended up doing is finding another picture of Joel where he was in focus and just swap the heads. You can't even tell. The magic of Photoshop. This way we were able to get both of them in focus. Now to comply with federal regulations, we have to have an orange tip on the gun. Unfortunately, it makes the gun look really cheesy. So here it is after Photoshop. Walking around with an orange tipped gun makes sure that the cops don't shoot us, especially if we're a bit darker. Luckily for us, it's an easy fix. I also brightened up the gun and made it a bit more silver. This made it look way more realistic than before. Toy gun? Real gun. Toy gun? Real gun. Overall, we got it pretty close. What do you think? Not bad. Not bad at all. Here's another shot of the orange tip gun removal. This is a pretty fun picture, a nice bonding moment. I think it captures the mood of the game. Sometimes you gotta laugh, enjoy the sights, see some giraffes. This is probably my favorite image, and it wasn't posed at all. There's no acting going on. People thought this shot was from the actual game just because it had a lot of emotion. But the funny thing is, what was actually happening is he was trying to look into her eye because she had a dust particle in there. I just happened to catch this moment. It was all impromptu, but it captured the spirit of the game, the father-daughter bond of Ellie and Joel. And I think that's why people related to it so much. This is the start of this shot. You can see there's no editing and the sky is white. I tried to always put extra details into the backpacks because in a third-person shooter, that's what we see them most. Their backs, and they're usually in high detail and crisp, and they're never blurry. This is our first edit. You could see the very cloudy day and the sun is coming from the left, the west. It's hitting this smokestack over here, which made the sky very boring. So this is what I did. Yep, I added a fake sky. It didn't make sense because the sun was coming from the left, but the smokestack still looked convincing. Almost. This is what it's like before, and this is after. You can see the crazy improvement. All that's left is just to add the titles, and there we go. This photo is not really from the game. It just captures the setting and the mood of the environment, like in shots like this. You can see how perfect the sunset was, and fences like these is what inspired shots like this.
Human shield.
We finally get to the main cover art of the game. Now this photo took a lot of tweaking. First we have this giant softbox to get Ellie. We have another light behind Joel hitting the background. Then we have a flash on the ground whose sole purpose is to light up Joel's gun. We have another speed light way up high to give Joel that nice hair light. This is what the small studio looked like with all the lights set up. And this is what the photo looked like on the camera. And here's some improvements. There was a lot of things to do in this shot, and I'll go over them one by one. First, if you notice over here, the light stand for the flash was showing. And also, number 2, since Joel was quite a bit tall, the backdrop wasn't tall enough to fit the entire frame. Another thing you'll notice is just how long Ellie's gun was. So I had to shorten it through Photoshop. Bam! Look at the difference. Had to get it kind of lined up with Joel's gun. Also, the hair light didn't go off, or it didn't get the right angle. I had another flash up there trying to hit the hair from here, but either didn't go off or missed it entirely because he moved, which I didn't notice at the time, so I had to go back in Photoshop and add an artificial light to make his hair stand out. Another missing light was this whole region right here. The softbox mainly hit her face, but it missed her torso, her arm, her shoulder, the butt of the gun. This was all fake. This is all fake lighting. If you don't believe me, I'll prove it right now. Bam. Look at that. It's all fake. This is all artificial lighting. I had to do this to make it look more like the original picture. And also this right here is no good. Unless you're old Greg, you don't want a flash coming out of your crotch. So I had to get rid of that in Photoshop. And here's a side-by-side comparison. You can see that the arm matches the sample photo almost perfectly. And the top of his head is pretty damn close to the original. The gun lighting was pretty on too. Great attention to details here. Clara made sure that I would get pictures of all the tiny details that go unnoticed by most people. This was Joel's watch. She made her own shirt from scratch. That was pretty cool. These shoes, which actually, I was there when she bought them and they were yellow. So she bought brand new shoes just to stain them to make them look more legit. Like mentioned earlier, the majority of the game is spent looking at the back of the characters, so her backpack was very important, and here's how it compares with the actual game. You can appreciate the attention to detail with the little monster and the buttons. All 3 buttons are completely identical, which is insane, so you better appreciate it. Now these are the photos that didn't make it. None of them are edited. These are just for fun to show you what else happened during the shoot. We played around with perspective, and it made for a funny image. We decided to make Clara a very tiny fairy version, which reminded us of Navi from Ocarina of Time. Like, hey, listen! Imagine if the game was like that. This was kind of interesting. We were trying to recreate these cutscenes where you would boost each other up, which did happen a lot in the game. The sunset eventually came out. These are probably my favorite pictures from the entire series. Joel finally handing her a gun to use. For these, I was trying to get some third-person perspective of in-game footage, but the problem was the factory was too dark and my camera could not handle the high ISO. At around 1000 ISO, it was breaking. I did not want to post train tracks photos, but this was just in between moving sets. Getting sassy on the train. And then we got in a car, and then ate because we needed a break. The waitresses were kind of worried, especially because of Joel and his bloody face. A lot of bruises and blood. We had to explain that we were cosplaying. And then we got to the studio and we did the promo shots. They were almost like the ones that were from the game, but we just had to tweak them just a little. Like face there, go turn that way, turn that way. And you can see how huge her gun is right now. And there's another shot of how big her gun was compared to her. I tried to make him look like one of the enemies from the game, but you could still see it's Joel, so we didn't end up using these shots. And here's some silliness. This was my studio before it got cleaned up. It looked like an abandoned house from The Last of Us, so it fit perfectly well. This shot was not bad. Kind of looks like the game. A little bit too posy though. And that's about it. So let's go over how our cosplay set compares with the sequel that just came out this week. The first thing we said was how Clara was so much older than Ellie. So since the sequel takes place in the future, they look a lot closer alike than child Ellie. Joel, on the other hand, was a lot older than our cosplayer Jeff, TheLastSon Cosplay. So it's no surprise that in the sequel he is a lot older. This is how the two compare. So now that the wait is over, there is only one question. Do you prefer the original or the sequel? Anywho, that's it for this episode. If you want to see more crazy cosplay, check out me and Clara's other work. If you'd like to order a print, the links will be in the description. Now it's time for everyone's favorite part of the video. Cue that outro.
This is the end of the show. Watch more videos, you don't have to go. I hope it was time well spent. Leave a like, subscribe and comment. This is not goodbye, just a farewell. Click the thumbs up, don't forget the bell. Follow Mystery Man Photo for all of the pics.
Let's go over all the comments.